What's up, y'all? Welcome back. Welcome back. Today, I'm here with 4 book reviews. Let's get it. Favorite reader, that's who you are. Traveling near, traveling far. Through every chapter, you're the star. Favorite reader, that's who you are. Okay, let's just jump into it. 2 of these books are from my February core 4. That's basically like my 4 books that are my baseline reading, my starting point. I leave space to read other books. Let's just jump into it. I'm gonna start with those 2. The first one is Africaville by Jeffrey Colvin. And to be honest, out of the 4 books I'm talking about today, this one was my least favorite. And that's disappointing for me because I thought it was in my core 4. I specifically wanted to read this book. I thought it was going to be absolutely amazing. I thought it would be wonderful. And there were good parts to this book, but overall, I don't know. I wanted something else. I wanted to feel something. I don't know what, but something. And yeah. Even on the back, it says, this is as atmospheric and steeped into history as the known world, the Underground Railroad, and the 12 Tribes of Haiti. It was okay. This follows generations of a family living in Nova Scotia. And it has, like, it's historical fiction based on a real life community, real life family. But I don't know. We do get to see generations of this family in the 1930s, the 60s, and the 80s, which I did appreciate the wide span and kind of getting different point of views. But there was a lot going on in this book at the same time as there wasn't much going on. It was a whole lot and a whole little at the same time. And yeah, I don't know. It does kind of highlight the Black experience of people in the United States and in Canada, which I don't read a lot of Black books about Black people in Canada. So that perspective was interesting. I did like how the story was framed. To be honest, I probably would have been better off reading a nonfiction book about the communities in the United States that kind of migrated to Nova Scotia. So I don't know. I didn't necessarily like the structure of the book, how it was organized, how the story flowed. The characters are just like, I mean, they were there. Like, I just didn't feel anything when I was reading it, except, like bits and pieces were interesting. Some stuff seemed super out of place. Overall, I think the story is important to tell. I can see why people might like this, but for me personally, I didn't connect with it. I'm glad to have learned about these communities and the families, but I wish I would have read like a nonfiction book that kind of highlighted that. I wasn't invested in this book. And it's crazy because you wouldn't know it by reading the synopsis. I was like, this is right up my alley, okay? It explores notions of identity, passing, cross-racial relationships, the importance of place, and the meaning of home. It tells the larger story of the Black experience in parts of Canada and the United States. Like, it's atmospheric, okay? You go from the Great Depression through the social protests of the 60s to the economic upheavals of the 1980s. This sounded like it would be so good, right up my alley. Like, and it did touch on all of those things, but not in a way that I wanted to read about them. So I could see why somebody might like this. I didn't connect with it, but I could see why some people might. So that was the first book, Africaville by Jeffrey Colvin. Yeah, but I see great reviews of it. It just went for me. Okay, so that's the first one. Let me sit that up there. The next one was a reread for me. Oh wait, I said I was gonna start with the books that was on my. I was gonna start with the books that was on my core four. Let me do that. This book, this book right here, almost got a dedicated video. It almost got a dedicated video because I was like, I just got so much to say about this book. I have so much to say about this book. When I was, for a while reading this book, before I introduce it, let me kind of set this book up. When I was reading it, the first few pages, I was like, this might be the best book of 2026. When I was like 10 pages in, I was like, this could be my favorite, my top, my number one read of 2026. I was like about to give it that title. I'm reading it and I was just like, it's so good. And it's just, it got to one part, like one thing was introduced. And I was just like, bro, like, why? Why did you have to talk about this? Like, why did they have to even take that role? What is the point of taking this role? This road. Like, what's the point of introducing this? And that might be the only reason, and one little piece might be the only reason that this just is not just up there for me. Okay. This is up there. This is up there, but it might be what like brings it, stops it from being my number one of the year. And it's early. It's February. And I was like, this book right here, enough talking. That is the Most Secret Memory of Men by Mohammed Umgar Sar. Hope y'all can see that. This book right here, let me show y'all again. Just look. This was translated from French. And even then I was kind of nervous. So this, again, it was part of my core four, part of my February TBR. And I knew it was translated from French, but I also know that sometimes things are lost in translation. Not all the time, because I've read some stuff where I'm like, this is great. Not all the time, but sometimes some stuff seems like a little out of place, like weirdly worded. It seems like just slightly out of place sometimes, not all the time. This right here, OMG. This is a great book. It was great. Let me tell you what it's about. Like, this is, I ain't trying to be funny, but this, like, my reading experiences was night and day. I couldn't wait to put this down because I was like, I'm low-key over it. But this right here, y'all, fantastic. Let me tell you what it's about. First and foremost, this book is an ode to literature. First and foremost, it's an appreciation and understanding, a dedication to literature as a whole, to the writer, honoring literature. Like, that's overall, the overarching thing is an appreciation, a love, and an understanding of literature. Okay. But let's get to the plot. This book starts out. First of all, I don't even know where to start. It's multiple plots in here, and they're all good. Usually I find myself drawn to one over the other. I was locked in with every single one of them. I was locked in. This book starts off with a writer who is like just now kind of getting his breakout onto the like literary scene. He's just now getting like the beginner appreciation. And there is this book that was written called The Labyrinth of Inhumanity. And it's by this author. Who this author and the writing. Okay, wait, let me back up. There is an author in this book, like I said, the narrator, the main character of this book, kinda, because there's a few, but the one who like you're getting the most perspective from is a writer. He's getting his breakout. He's just now getting like that beginner recognition. And he has a love for literature. Like, writing is who he is what he does. It's a part of who he is. And it's just like, he can't separate himself from that. He's passionate about it. That's what it is. Well, there's this book that's called The Labyrinth of Inhumanity, and it was written by an author called T.C. Elamine. This author is an African art author who faced a lot of criticism because people were saying that his work was plagiarized, okay? Nobody knows much about this man. Not nobody. Very, very, very few people know who he is. He like stayed anonymous when he released his work. A small publishing house published his work, but the work itself is like transformative. It's like captivating. It's life changing, pretty much. It's one of those. It's one of them ones, okay? And he gets it and becomes upset. Not before he gets it, he's obsessed with finding the actual book. He's obsessed with finding out who this man was, why things happened the way that they did. The T.C. Elamine as the writer. He gets the book in his hands, and it's like the book is just it's a book. It's life changing. It's so many things to so many people, and he introduces it to like the book and the writing to other people. Anyways, it raises questions on being inspired and influenced by stories to create your own versus plagiarism. It raised questions of creativity and what makes a writer a writer. It raised questions of how writers are perceived and how they perceive people perceiving them. Yeah, it raised questions about like, what is home? What is identity? Like, can you separate your art from others' arts? Aren't we all influenced in some way by and inspired in some way by some other way? Like, what is originality? You know? And is it plagiarism if you take 50 things, fat fragments, put them together in your own way to make something that is so compelling, is life changing? Like, and then like managing people's expectations of how you make something and you have an idea of what it is. But when you put it out there to the world, people are going to perceive it in different ways. They're going to receive it in different ways. Creating and reading literature is a two-way street. It talks about that. This book talks about where T.C. Elamine came from, his village. It talks about colonialism and just versus traditionalism, and if they both have a place, how do they coexist? How do they like, what's that balance that's played? Parenthood, brotherhood, spirituality. Like, what's not in this book? I'm telling you, this still, now that I'm thinking about it, that one little piece that annoyed me, it might not even matter. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of the year go, because I was locked in. This is a book I'm 100% sure I'm going to reread this at some point. 100% sure, because I just like some of those sentences and thoughts and like philosophies in here. Some of the things that were talked about and explained, even about like a child leaving home or an adult leaving home and just like thinking back onto the place that you were raised in, and just so many different things. Understanding and respecting and appreciating things you don't understand. How two different paths can diverge. It's about choice. It's about everything. This is a very, very, very quotable book. I was locked in, y'all. The more I think about it, the more I'm just like, and then I'm thinking about Elamine. So again, the author that I mentioned, that the people in the book are almost like obsessing about, low key, trying to find more about, and like the different angles that different people take, what's important to different people, even if they're looking at the same situation. I'm like, this man is also a representative of so many different things. I mean, this is jam packed with symbolism. Just, this was great. This book had me stopping every 10 pages to tell my husband something about this book. And I know he was like, girl, ain't that why you made a booktube channel and a bookstagram? Tell them. He listened, but he didn't get where I was coming from. Like, he listened. He was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like, yeah. But just, it's a heavy hitter. It's a heavy hitter. Just, just so many different things. Let me check my notes and see if I'm missing something. Like, geez. This book is organized in a, I don't want to say creative way, but I like the way that it's organized. It's essentially broken up into 3 books, and each book has a section. You get different people's perspectives, but you still, like, the central story is still there, but there are other perspectives to that story, and you're kind of putting the pieces together. I think I saw something on the back. I don't know where I saw this. Somewhere I saw that they said this was a mystery, a detective novel or mystery novel without a detective. And that kind of stuck with me while I was reading it too. There he is, like, there's this mystery they're trying to solve. Who is this man? Did he write something else? Like, different people want to know different things about him. And T.C. Elliman, the author of the book that I mentioned that they are all obsessing about, basically, and that caused all this like controversy, is a representative of a lot of things. He obviously represents great literature, that one of a kind literature, and can that be reproduced? It had me thinking about something that the author raised, was like a question that he raised was like, once you get everything out, something you feel like you have to get out, and it's everything poured out onto the page. Do you have anything left? Is there like one monumental piece that you put out that's like everything, that's like your peak, and can anything else compare that you put out? Like, even if it's, like, just when you get to that point and you produce something that great, what else is there if you pour everything onto that page? This was just a good book. I just thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. There was one little thing I still like. If that they mentioned something, I'm not going to give it away because it might just be me that feels this way. But when they were digging into like the past of T.C. Elliman, there was one thing that was mentioned, and I was just like, why do they have to go back to that? I feel like I knew it was going to go back to that, but I was like, why did they have to? But other than that, great. Absolutely phenomenal. Amazing. Amazing. I will be reading this. Amazing. Yeah. We'll be reading it again, I meant. So that's the first 2. And those are part of my core 4, which is what I'm calling my TBRs for February. So one of them was a major hit. And one of them, I'm glad I read it because it was on my list, but I didn't connect with it. It wasn't doing it for me. The next 2 weren't on my list, but I just decided to read them. This one was a reread, The Spook Who Sat by the Door by Sam Greenlee. I read this book like 10 years ago. 10-ish years ago. I can't remember exactly when, but it's been a minute. Actually, more than that, because my oldest son wasn't born. So I read this book more than 11 or 12 years ago. Probably more. I wasn't even pregnant. I read this book more than 12 years ago. And I enjoyed it. I remember feeling like, oh, this is kind of clever the way it's set up. The language, it's not like a super hard book to understand. It's pretty straightforward. It's written straightforward. The language is plain, which I appreciated. And the idea of it was interesting to me. You have this main character, his name is Freeman, who joins a program to join the CIA because it starts off with this politician who wanted to diversify the CIA, but didn't think that anybody would actually make it through. And he did this all for political gain. So it's also showing that even though people get on the platform and they say things that might benefit, or you might think it benefits a group, in this case, Black people, the politician only did it to secure the Black vote. Really he didn't care anything about this for real, but he knew he needed to secure the Black vote. And he didn't think anybody would make it through the CIA training. Well, this man named Freeman did. He was great. He had like a great aptitude, but he tried his best to kind of excel but fly under the radar. Be very plain, fly under the radar. This is a satire, also a commentary almost on Black militancy. So it's very interesting because Freeman was displaying all of the traits that they want in somebody that's a CIA operative. Like, he was very forgettable for a long time until he had to not be. So he blended in, even though they said Black people couldn't blend in the CIA, they would stick out like a sore thumb. He did a lot of things. Basically, they top person to go through that program, okay? But he was undercover. He was wearing a face, a mask, what they call it, because he had his own agenda. He went through that program, but he had his own agenda. He left the CIA. Let me see if this is a spoiler. Maybe. He left the... Oh, no, it's not a spoiler. It's on here. Anyways, he left the CIA because he had his own agenda he had to carry out. He had to carry out his agenda. So you get to see like how he's playing his double agent, taking on the mask, putting off the mask, assimilating, fakely, not assimilating, trying to hold back who he really is and his true intentions. And so Freeman, the Black guy, is doing this. He's masking his true intentions, but also the white people, the politicians, the people that he's like in office with, they're putting on a mask for the public too. He can see through it because he knows how they think and he's with them behind the scenes. But you kind of get to see both sides of that, which I thought was cool. Again, I already read it, but I saw it on the shelf and I wanted to reread it. Mainly because I remembered it, but it was one part that I was like, I don't remember how he got from this to this, like what the transition was. I was just randomly thinking about it. So I said, oh, it's not that long. Let me go ahead and reread it. So I was glad I did. Great book. I'll probably reread it again if I'm thinking about it and forget what happened when and where. So yeah, satire, parody, talks about Black militancy, talks about the politics, the political landscape. Very, very interesting. So good book. Okay. The last book I'm going to talk about today is an anthology. It is called You Are Your Best Thing, Vulnerability, Shame, Resilience, and the Black Experience by Tarana Burke and Brene Brown. Here are the contributors on the back. Let me just name off a few, not everybody, but Austin Channing, Kiese Lehman, Mark Lamont Hill, Darren Young, Laverne Cox, Imani Perry. So yeah. And the cool thing is after every section that the author writes, you kind of get an about the author thing. So there were a lot of authors in here I've never heard of. And after their segment or essay or whatever, you get to hear some of their accomplishments, what they care about, who they are. Anyways, this is a book full of essays about the Black experience, shame, vulnerability. You get different perspectives, and it's very interesting. It starts off with the conversation between the two editors, kind of seeing how the book came to fruition, and then they jump into the essays. So, yeah, so I think the first essay, I'm pretty sure it's Jason Reynolds is the first. Yeah, so it starts off, the first essay is from Jason Reynolds, and it's a heavy hitter. It started off great. It's one of my favorite ones in here. I think I have like a few that stood out to me more than others, and Jason Reynolds was one of my favorite ones in here. But yeah, it talks about the Black experience, shame. A lot of the essays too were focused on healing, the healing experience and journey, self-identity and acceptance, and how you box and package your shame for others, for yourself and for others, and kind of what facades you have to put up, what facades you need to break down, things like that to be vulnerable, the importance of vulnerability, period. A lot of that. And just a lot of personal narratives. Like people were talking about their childhood, their grandparents growing up, experiences in college, like as a writer. They were talking about mental health and how that's experienced, how family dynamics play into that, their upbringings, acts of self-care. Yeah, very, very mental health related and heavy, which is, I think, is good. The way it was packaged was good. This book made me think about, one, how pain is experienced differently by different people. Like, obviously you already know that, but this really made me think about like how that really shows up and how an experience can translate and mean something totally different to two different people that experienced it, even at the same time. Like, we're all different. And just to think about like how that could show up decades later, how you can internalize a lot of that, what that looks like, stuff like that. It also made me think about me as a parent and then as a wife, but I'm gonna talk about like me as a mother first. It made me think about shame and vulnerability with my kids and just trying to like create an environment. And I think sometimes it's subconscious, it's done subconsciously, but I think sometimes we have to intentionally like create that environment for our kids to not feel ashamed when there's nothing to be ashamed about, or it's for you to be vulnerable and know this is your safe space and not chastise you for vulnerability. Like, so yeah, some of that is subconsciously done because it's like, you know, you just, that's what you naturally want for your kids. I think if you're, you know, that's neither here nor there. For the people that want to be a parent, I think that's like natural in a lot of ways, but also there is a piece that you really do have to be intentional about, because we bring our own trauma and shame and pain and everything else to every relationship that we have. That doesn't ruin it, but it is something to be mindful of and to not spill that out onto other people when there's no reason to do so. So I do think, even like, I think about situations with my kids where I'm like, why is that a problem for me? Like, why do I react that way about XYZ? And it always comes back to me. If I question something like that, it's probably because like I'm spilling out in all the wrong ways. And so to be able to kind of go back and think about why you do what you do and trying not to like pass that along to your kids when they have nothing to do with it, and figuring out what is you actually passing down your own shame versus like, okay, no, this is a standard and a value and this and this and that. So being able to kind of see and take an active approach to separating those two out, I thought was interesting. That same thing can be translated to me as a wife as well. Me as a friend, as a sister, as a person, that same thing. But I initially thought about my kids first, and then I thought about like my husband, because those are my two closest relationships. Then I'm like, oh, this translates to every single relationship I have, even the one with myself. So, which is crazy because I didn't think about me with myself first. I initially thought about me with my kids. Then I'm like, dang, do I put more energy into that? That's neither here nor there. That's a whole other conversation. But very interesting. Very, very interesting. Some things, the Black people are not a monolith. The Black experience is full of a lot of experiences, but there are a lot of similarities. Okay, not everybody experiences everything, but I do think under that umbrella of the Black experience, just based on the nature of it, there are some themes that we see recurring over and over and over the generations. And, you know, it was just interesting to think about. Written well. Everybody in this book can write. So I appreciated this anthology. It's something I bought last year. And again, I was just kind of going over my shelves and decided it's time to read this. So that's that. That's it. That's the 3. I mean, that's the 4 for today. Yeah. This one was my least favorite. This one was my most favorite, for real. Like, y'all think I'm playing. This was great. I don't even know what to say. But yeah, that's it for today. That's it. Thank y'all for watching, for joining. If you read any of these, let me know. Especially if you read Africaville, because I've seen positive reviews online, but nobody directly said to me like, I love this book, because I kind of shared my initial thoughts on it on my Instagram story, and everybody was like, yeah, just okay. If you love this book, let me know. I'm very interested to know. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Thank y'all for coming, watching, joining, commenting if you comment, liking if you liked it. And yeah, I'm gonna see y'all on the next one.
Pages turning soft as silk, stories flowing like warm milk. A journey starts with every line, worlds unfolding in your mind. Bookmarks falling where dreams collide. Every cover's got a tale inside. Favorite read.